Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect, and I've got two videos I've wanted to do for quite some time, this being one of them, my PvP tutorial / guide, how to increase and improve your PvP game in Battlegrounds and in Cyrodiil, tips and tricks, things you didn't know, things you should be doing, and things you should never be doing. I'm a day one player, and all I do anymore is PvP. I've got enough PvP badges on my nerd hat, my ESO nerd hat, to qualify me to say, this stuff works, you can take my word for it. Am I the best there ever was? Certainly not. I would never allow myself to say something like that. There are plenty of good players, but my out-of-the-box builds, combined with my skill and experience, have killed many high-end players on meta builds. So let's jump in. I'm going to steer you guys in the right direction here. Starting with number one, what you need first and foremost, a build. As you look here, I'm scrolling through just some of the builds on my channel here at Area of Effect, and I've got plenty, all classes, all roles, all types, and there's a lot of channels out there with a lot of good builds. Somebody has a build for you that's going to match your play style, it's going to be effective, and it's going to be fun. But that's what you've got to do first. You have to bring to the table the right tools. You need a build that is going to be built reliably with synergy between the gear, the skills, what class you're on, what potions, what mundus. You need to have all these items with each other in mind. You can't put together just random sets, random skills that it's like putting together a puzzle with all the wrong pieces, just random pieces you find out of all these other puzzle boxes. Your picture's going to be, well, shit. You need to use all the right puzzle pieces to make the most beautiful picture when it's all said and done. And that leads me into skills, by the way, on the next bit. Skills. Your build, you got to know what it is first. You got to have intention behind it, what its play style is. Not all builds are equal, and nor do they all have the same play style. You can't just do everything the same with different builds. When to pop in, when to pop out, what it's meant for and what it's not. Keep those things in mind when you pick a build. And stay loyal and committed to playing this build the way it was designed to be played for optimum performance. Now, before we get into the battle mechanics of what to do on the battlefield and what not to do on the battlefield, let's hit one more item first. Join a guild. There are PvP guilds on every server. I am presently in Stoon's Goons, a great guild on Xbox North America, full of high-end elite PvP contenders, and they are all very good, positive people. They're not sour, toxic people. I recommend that guild. The Dragonborn Warriors is another great guild I'm in with a great guild store location. If you want in either of those two guilds, leave me a comment and I'll get you to the right people. Real quick shout back to Scrollin' the podcast. Thank you for throwing out my name and channel on your last episode. If you haven't heard them, they're great. You can find them on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and they discuss all things Theorycraft, everything upcoming with the new patch changes and all that stuff. So find them there and drop by and take a listen. All right, now let's move into battle tips and tricks. First and foremost, line of sight. Always leave yourself a wall, a corner, or something to break the line of sight between you and your enemy, especially if you're outnumbered. Do not find yourself out in the open, overextended too far while you're outnumbered, unless you know damn well that you could handle it. And that's going to take time and experience on a build for you to become fluent with it enough to handle those kind of circumstances. So line of sight is definitely number one. Kind of in line with that is leaving yourself a back door, a way to escape. See, I'm too extended, so I'm going to speak over this like a narrator. I broke line of sight, popped out with a stun, and then repositioned. A little bit of parkour here, jumping around, keeping structures, steps, walls, and also healing my teammate, watching my ultimate ready to build up here, and then timing my offensive onslaught. And there it is. Now I came in, and it's kind of like a table turner. I'm lighting the whole place on fire. This guy's trying to get away. I pursue, and I'm good to go. Now I come back down into the battle. We look like we're pretty good. We're 2-on-1. So all of a sudden it changes. I heal him, I break away, I break line of sight, and I pull back. This is constantly important to do while you still have resources. That's one of the most important things you could do is back out when you have resources, know when it's time to quit. Look, we're 2-on-1. We are in a pretty good place. My ally dies, and now we're 2-on-1 against me. So I reposition. I play this pillar. I go defensive with my sword and board. They reposition on me. I reposition again. There's a guy behind. Constantly watch my positioning. Now, my magicka is running a little low, which doesn't typically happen, but I've got plenty of stamina, and I've got my ultimate ready, and then as a Dragon Knight, my resources are back. I knew that. Now I'm attacking him on a one-on-one. My ally's coming in behind me. I'm comfortable. Look at my resources. I know that I'm comfortable enough to move in for some offensive attacking here. I could spend resources on offense instead of saving them for defense, and I can be right out in the open. Okay, so constantly keeping an eye on your resources, more specifically stamina for dodge roll, for break free, is kind of like the red light or green light to me. If I start getting depleted on my stamina, well then I need to make sure that I'm close enough to a line of sight, a pillar or something like I'm doing here. I messed up that jump, but I'm keeping this between me. Look at this, dodge roll away, still have stamina. I dragon leaped, and you're gonna see I got a kill there. Even though all that craziness was going on and I was like in the center of all of it, alone. I break line of sight again. Heavy attack that I started from around the corner. Look at this lag, by the way. I was trying to whip, and then it kind of screwed me. I didn't get my heal from my whip. But now I've got a permanent whip. You see that? That should be a tip and trick. Get yourself a permanent whip. But I broke line of sight again, and I'm charging up heavy attacks after I break line of sight, by the way, because I know that I'm free to do so and it can't be seen and I can't be interrupted, and then I come out and hit him with it. Now, I feel like I'm pretty good with my stamina. I've got a Dragon Leap ready, so I go ahead and pop it. I focus this guy down. He's got some dots on him. I'm still focusing on him while I'm healing, paying attention to this guy. Remember, whips will heal me, so I know that. Look at my magic or my health going up. I killed him. There's a distraction. That third-party purple is what I looked at there to let me know that I am able to use him as some crossfire. Now we're kind of in a weird 2-on-1, 1-on-1, 2. It's really weird there. 1-on-2, and we kind of start to focus on each other here a little bit, but there's still some third-party action, and I just decide I'll let these guys duel it out. And now pay attention here. I start my fully charged heavy attack before I saw the guy. So that way when we had line of sight of each other, it ended up already popping off without warning. You get your resources back from the fully charged heavy attack. And I got that dot from that Inferno staff. Loading him up with dots, he leaped on me. I took it. His buddy comes in. There's a Donnie on me. A third guy comes from the right. I break line of sight. Look at my resources. Look at my ultimate. I'm good to go. I really do love my Dragon Knights, man. That build is called the Eternal. It's on my channel. One of my favorites. Go check it out. I'm on a Necro now. Look at this room. I've got one ally dead. The second one going down. In the center of the room, red is dominating. I make sure I'm not in there. I pull back. I pull back even further. My third ally goes down. There's a reason why I'm the only one left alive. I pull back, again, break line of sight, reposition, and I'm outnumbered here. My resources, I'm keeping my stamina, and my magic, I'm watching them very closely. I'm on a 4-on-1 now. The 2 break away. There is 2 left. I feel better about these 2 than I do having 4. So I'm facing this way unless I were to get surprised hit in the back. Just playing the wall. Watch the skeleton's about to kill the enemy on the left. Right there, he's dead. Now, I'm good. I killed him, even though I was outnumbered, just playing the structures, doing a little bit of parkour, keeping myself hard to hit and elusive, and timing my attacks. Now, something else I want to add is no matter what build I am on, I always want to have a heal over time and a big burst heal. That way, I can heal over time when I need to have some healing while I'm doing other things, like attacking, and a burst heal when I'm under intense pressure and need to spam some big heals. It typically ends up being resolving vigor, and whatever class burst heal on a Templar, it might be Breath of Life. On a Dragon Knight, it might be Coagulating Blood or Green Dragon Blood. On a Necromancer, it is Resistant Flesh. Sork could be Twilight, or it could be Dark Deal. Every class has a big bursty heal. I like to do that and a stamina heal. Oh, I actually got ahead of myself. I also like to have a magicka heal and a stamina heal. So that way, no matter what resource I have depleted, I have a heal with the other one. Maybe I'm out of magicka, I can pop vigor. Maybe I'm out of stamina, I can pop my big magicka burst heal. So I recommend that on any build, no matter what. Another great example is coming up right here. I'm with an ally. We are 2 on, okay, now it's 3 on 2. The purple just died, the ally just died very quickly, so I dodge roll again. I'm breaking, aiming for line of sight to be broken here. By the way, dodge rolling consecutively drains exponentially more stamina. Try not to. I had to there to get to the corner. Now I'm at the corner, I pop my ult, I'm in decent shape right now. Stamina's replenishing. The other guy took off, he's taken off. The Dragon Knight who locked me down is taken off. I've got this guy left behind me. I finish him off, and now the two come back. So I snagged him. I got to break line of sight again, but before I do, I'm going to round the corner, and I'm good to go. All right, so I'm going to speak a little more freely here about some of the basics and essentials you have to keep in mind in PvP. We already talked about a build. Find a build, nail it down, and play it true to its style. Play it the way it's designed to be played. Line of sight, don't overextend yourself too far, especially when outnumbered. Keep yourself close to corners, walls, jumps, so you can parkour and break line of sight. Those are some very important things. But something else I wanted to talk about is learn the maps. Realize that there are ways that you can escape things, and I'll show some of those here in a minute here in a different clip. But I wanted to talk about dodge roll as well. When you dodge roll, I see some people just dodge roll and dodge roll. I used to do it. When you dodge roll, you consume more and more and more stamina exponentially. It costs more and more. It's a quick way to deplete yourself of stamina, which is vital in PvP. You have to break free. Speaking of, because when you're out of stamina, you're dead. Speaking of break free, let's talk about CC. If you are not using CC presently, you need to. It's going to change your game. Crowd control. CC stands for crowd control. We're talking about snares, immobilizations, and stuns, hard stuns. A stun is a complete, basically it makes you disabled. You're knocked on your back. You can't jump. You can't cast a skill. There's a cooldown after you get stunned, and that immunity lasts for 7 seconds where you can't be stunned again. But the stunning CC immunity and immobilizing are independent of each other. When you immobilize somebody, they're not stunned per se, but they can't move. They can still cast skills, they can still heal, they can dodge roll, they can pop potions, they can do things, but they just can't move. The immunity for immobilizing is 4 seconds. So you can actually, if you're aware of these, you can stun the enemy, knock them down, right? They break free, they run away. 2 seconds later, they're still on their hard stun immunity, but you can immobilize them, and then they're immobilized now, and then a couple seconds later, a few seconds later, you can stun them again. Then every 4 seconds, because that's the immunity for immobilize, you can immobilize them again. So you can stun and immobilize independently and together, just back to back. And that's not even talking about snares, which is neither an immobilize nor a stun. It's basically a reduction of speed. Snares can be 30% snare, 40%, 70%. They can add together. If you're not using these types of CCs, you guys need to. It's going to change your PvP experience entirely. Now check this out. You guys have not seen this build yet, but I'm vampiring away, shield wall, going through a crack in the wall to escape, line of sight. That crack in the wall, by the way, it's one of those things I was talking about earlier. Know the maps, figure out where the back doors are, ways to escape. And I'm trying to escape because I don't want this 2v1. Why? Because I know what this build is designed to be like. I'm playing this build the way it's designed. And I escaped and retreated back to the group. Now, it can 1v1, but I know this build deals way more damage in groups. The more people, the more multiplied damage. Now, I'm about to get a 1v1 right here and kill this guy, but a 2v1 is not ideal because there's not enough of them to make multiplied damage happen, and there's 2 of them, so it's not actually a 1v1. Now check this out. Without using an ultimate, this is my ranged bomber. 3, 2, 1, bam. Check that out. All those kills right there. I did drop the ultimate after because I got it from the kills, but this is a redone new version of the remote detonator build I released about 2 years ago. Go check that one out. Ranged bomber. So I'm playing this back one more time in slow motion so you guys can see the kills, the numbers, what happens here. It's a non-ulti bomb, as you notice, no ultimate right there. I did end up dropping it afterward because I got it from the kills, but this build is going to be coming out soon. Keep your eyes open for it. Two other things you might not realize are as important as they are is the correct food and potions. I recommend Orzorga's Smoked Bear Haunch, max health in all 3 recoveries, keeping those resources up. Focus on survival if you're having a hard time with PvP. Try not to die versus get kills. Then work the kills in later. Very similar to the Smoked Bear Haunch, but much cheaper if you can't afford it, are the Jewels of Misrule. Everything's the same except the values are slightly smaller and you don't get the health recovery. Something else you might not realize is that all potions are not the same, at least health potions. You want to go with the tripods, max health, max stamina, and max magicka instead of just max health, and all 3 recoveries that go along with them, helping keep your resources going. Again, focus on survival and then work the kills out later. Little by little, step up the offense after you've gotten very comfortable with the build you are playing. Another quick little tip I'd recommend, especially if you're struggling in PvP, is the 25-25 rule. 25k health and 25k resistances. I mean, you could push it up to 30k health, 30k resistances, but a minimum 25-25 until you get more comfortable with maybe a 22k health character or a 20k health or a 20k resistance character, because not all builds are tanky. Some have their survivability built into elusiveness, evasion, cloaking, dodging, healing, things like that, versus just straight up damage mitigation. So survivability is accomplished in a lot of different ways, but 25-25 should help you at least get started. Heck, like I said, you could go 30-30. I'm just saying at minimum, try 25-25. Now, I know we've talked about a lot of details so far. Hopefully you're grabbing onto it and it's going to stick with you. But one other thing I'd like to add, very important, is patience. PvP, a lot of times your kills come from burst, lining up a moment where everything you do works properly. That burst can be interrupted by a stun. You might end up getting hit by a third-party person. There's a lot that could happen, but being patient and looking for the window to turn from defensive into offensive is key. There are damage over time, dot builds, but for the most part, a good player can heal through those. If you give them time to think, you give them time to heal, they will heal. So burst is kind of where it's at. And I've got some tooltips of my death recaps that I'll show later where I was just bursted down, some hilarious death recaps. By the way, watching this clip, if you paid attention how often I'm breaking line of sight, and the whole point, by the way, of breaking line of sight is to reduce 3 or 4 people, 2 or 3 people from hitting you at the same time, to reducing it down to 1, where one person pursued, the other ones were left behind, and you could kind of turn a 3v1 into a 1v1 for a moment. But yeah, so something else I didn't mention also is, try to stay with your group. It is fun. I like to go off 1v1 and do some crazy stuff, and you can get away with it. But sometimes if the enemy groups are tight and they're staying together, you need to stay with your group, or at least close to. Another thing you might not be aware of is the matchmaking rating, or MMR. It's kind of a formula ZOS uses. It's not completely disclosed, but basically the more you play, the better you are, the better players you're going to be put up against. So it's going to get harder the more you play, so be ready. Always keep in mind battle spirit, whether it's a duel, BGs, or Cyrodiil. Your healing is cut in half, your damage is cut in half, your damage shields are cut in half, your health recovery is stunted, your max health goes down. These are things to keep in mind, and especially like in BGs, there's no champion points, so your champion points do not apply in Battlegrounds. So that's something to keep in mind. As we near the end of this video, there's something I wanted to add regarding skills and like rotation in PvP. It might sound weird, rotations are very much needed in PvE when you're in dungeons and trials and you're sitting there with a high DPS tune and you're, you got a healer at your back, the target is static and stationary, and you're just going through an optimal rotation for your build. But in PvP, the landscape always changes. The battle is always changing. You got to flip-flop from offense to defense, But it is still good to have a rotation in mind, an offensive rotation in mind, that when it's time to make a move offensively, you do this, that, and that, when then an execute, and you know that they're going to die, or they're most likely going to die. Have something like that worked on. Have in mind a rotation, a combo, if you will, of what you're going to do when it's time for you to deal damage. And finally, last but not least, everybody dies. You will die. Check out some of these death recaps. Look at this one, a Dragon Leap ulti, a Dawnbreaker ulti, a Crescent Sweep Templar ulti, the second tick of the Dawnbreaker, and another Dragon Leap. All ultimates in my death recap. Look at this one here. I got Sork bombed. 3 different haunting curses from 3 different Sorks and crystal frags. It's just an awesome way to die. A purple mist of death. You know, this happens. Look at this one here. Take Flight, Ferocious Leap, Take Flight. 3 red Dragon Leaps, including my buddy Blur Savage. Thanks, Blur. But yeah, this is what happens, guys. And just have fun and get back up and get better. No big deal. But I hope this video helped. If you guys have any questions, leave me any questions in the comments. Maybe I missed something you think is vital. For your convenience and quick reference, I put up on the screen a list of everything we talked about. Take a screenshot. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope to see you out there. Area of Effect, signing out.